welcome to all in this Shravan Kirtan camp. As I mentioned this morning, and as well known, Shravan Kirtan means hearing and chanting specifically about Vishnu. But as it happens, this Shravan Kirtan camp is also clubbed with what is called the Vyasa Puja, or the coming together of the disciples to glorify the Guru as the representative of Vyasadeva. So there should be, presumably there will be some Shravan and Kirtan, not directly about Vishnu, but about myself, which may seem quite inappropriate, but that is the system given by Vishnu, by Krishna, and that discussing about myself is only because of the connection with Krishna. Otherwise, there's no reason to glorify anyone except Krishna. But Krishna himself likes to see his devotees glorified. So we glorify someone because of their connection with Krishna. We don't glorify Srila Prabhupada saying that he was born in Calcutta in such and such a year and he went to Scottish Churches College. We may say that, but that's not the reason that we glorify him, because he went to Scottish Churches College, or he joined Gandhi's movement and wore khadi. That's not the reason we may say that to give some historical context, but we glorify him because he is a pure devotee of Krishna, and specifically that pure devotee of Krishna who saved us from our position, incarceration in the material world. So similarly, if I'm to be discussed, it must be in relationship to Srila Prabhupada. There's no use to talking about, I was born in England in such and such a year and I went to this school and I did this, I studied this, and then it's all meaningless. Any meaning to my life came through contact with Srila Prabhupada, and that's true of all of us. We're all here by Srila Prabhupada's mercy. Krishna's mercy manifested through Srila Prabhupada. So who am I? I am most fortunate to be, I can't imagine my good fortune to be counted as at least someone who is trying to be a servant of Srila Prabhupada, although actually to be his servant, even though he's very merciful, no doubt, but to be a worthy servant, it requires to come to his level of dedication and surrender, to actually be a servant, to be the kind of servant that he wanted us to be. Not that he wanted anything for his own sense gratification, but he wanted to see us fully engaged in the service of Krishna, mind, body, words, night and day, constantly, for eternity. Why did he desire that? That was his compassion. He desired that, so he took the trouble of coming to the Western world, and then in India taking so much trouble. There's just one anecdote. There are so many anecdotes which give insights into the limitless compassion and transcendental consciousness of Srila Prabhupada. Here's just one of them that I heard recently. Srila Prabhupada was in Fiji an island in, where is it? It's somewhere in between here and Australia. He had been invited there, and many programs had been arranged for him. But his secretary, Pushta Krishna Swami, he chastised Vasudev Prabhu, who is the devotee organizing Srila Prabhupada's visit. Why have you arranged so many preaching engagements with Srila Prabhupada? He's already quite sick. You just cancel them all. And Prabhupada will just stay in one place and he'll speak there. And when this came to Srila Prabhupada's attention, he said that why have you cancelled all the programs? Vasudeva is enthusiastic to organize them, so I should reciprocate. And Pushta Krishna Swami said, well, you're very sick now, Prabhupada, and we don't want to inconvenience you any more than required. And Srila Prabhupada said, it's already an inconvenience to come here. So why not accept a little more, just to reciprocate with Vasudeva? So they came to a compromise solution. Some of the programs were cancelled and some of them Srila Prabhupada did. But I heard this recently. I remember many years ago I'd heard a lecture or a conversation of Prabhupada in Fiji, in which he spoke, why are we coming? Why are we traveling all over the world? Why are we coming to Fiji? And that is the same thing. Lokanam hitakari. He's Lokanam hitakari. He's doing it for the benefit. Of course, I'm paraphrasing what Srila Prabhupada said. He's doing it for the benefit of others. He went to America, the most important country in the world. He went to Russia, another very important country. He went to India, which is the most important country of the world spiritually in the whole universe. He went to all kinds of places. And why Fiji, where there's no prestige there? But there are people interested in Krishna consciousness. So he wanted to spread Krishna consciousness everywhere, to everyone. So we're all very fortunate to be under the shelter of Srila Prabhupada. Most of you here are in the shelter of Srila Prabhupada via myself. My only duty to you, as I've said many times, and I will continue to say, anything which is requires to be understood, then we may repeat it to help us to understand and it becomes solidly embedded in our consciousness. Another thing is that by saying it again and again, we take pleasure in considering it again and again. Yes, it's my duty to instruct you as Srila Prabhupada instructed us. So what Srila Prabhupada instructed us is it's clear, straightforward. So we may say then, well, why, what do you need anyone in between for? You can just go directly to Srila Prabhupada, you can read his books. But as Srila Prabhupada himself often said, a guru is not supposed to be in between in the sense of blocking, but as what he called a transparent via media. In between, but not in the sense of blocking, but in the sense of facilitating, helping the flow to come through. Another important point is that Krishna made the system that one has to please the Guru, then Krishna is pleased. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado yasya prasada nagati kato. As we sing daily, by the satisfaction, by the pleasure of the Guru, we receive the mercy of Krishna. Prasada, yasya prasada, prasada, by his mercy. Prasada also means pleasure or satisfaction. So if he is pleased, then Krishna is pleased. And if he's not pleased, then Krishna is not pleased. So that is the system set up. what should be my pleasure? Then you may ask, what pleases me? And on one level you might start to think, well, chapatis and pakoras, yeah, okay, that also pleases me, but that's not the purpose of becoming a guru, to get chapatis and pakoras. You can also, if you like chapatis and pakoras, then any way you can get. You don't have to engage people as your disciples to do that, although they may be pleased to offer them to you. But Guru means first and foremost his identity is as a disciple. My identity, if I am asked who I am, is all right, I'm the Guru of all of you, but more important, or my core identity, is that disciple of Srila Prabhupada, who taught us to be, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us to be, Gopi Bhartu Pada Kamalaya Dasu Das Anudasaha, to consider ourselves the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna, who is the husband of the gopis, maintainer of the gopis of Vrindavan. So as a servant of Srila Prabhupada, if you ask me, well, what pleases me? You should think what pleases me, but I have to think what pleases Srila Prabhupada. So if you ask me what pleases me, and then I should say the same things that Srila Prabhupada said. I'd like to see you distribute Prabhupada's books, for instance. So again, you may say, well, what do you need a guru for? You can just do what Prabhupada said. But that point, it's a personal connection. In between, there's a personal connection that I can be pleased by your distributing Srila Prabhupada's books and so many other activities. Of course, Srila Prabhupada, he did stress that very much, distributing his books. So I can please Srila Prabhupada by encouraging you to do so. And it's a personal connection. Then I become pleased. Anyway, Srila Prabhupada is pleased, but I'm also pleased. And then Krishna is pleased. This is what we're told. Though I may be far, far from Krishna, but in the service of Srila Prabhupada, accepting this role, far, far from Krishna, but connected. The connection is there. By parampara, by initiation, the connection is made. And initiation, as I was just hearing in the audio recording of the Nectar of Devotion, Srila Prabhupada writes in there that one shouldn't think that initiation means my whole business is finished, but rather one has to act on the order of the spiritual master. So initiation is making the formal connection, and then one has to act in that connection to make the initiation meaningful. So anyway, about myself, if you want to know about myself, you may be interested in knowing about myself. I'm not very interested in saying, well, before I joined the movement, there's nothing interesting actually. There's nothing interesting to say. I mean, even for a disciple, what's interesting? I was just born, went to school, and nothing much to say. So my life really began after being a zombie for so many millions of lifetimes. Actually came to life. Srila Prabhupada gave the life-giving injection of Krishna consciousness. So then you may ask, what pleases me? In Rishikesh I was asked this, and I answered as Srila Prabhupada did. When Srila Prabhupada was asked what pleases you he was asked this on different occasions. On one occasion he said, if you love Krishna. That's a big challenge. As long as we're trying to love this material world, although love for Krishna is natural, but for us it seems to be unnatural because of our attachment to everything that blocks Krishna consciousness. Bhukti mukti spriha yavat pishachi hridi vartate tavat bhakti sukhasyatra katham abhyudayo bhavet. As long as the witch-like desires for material enjoyment or liberation from the material world are within the heart, then where is the question of actually experiencing the happiness of pure devotional service? So we require to practice. We require to practice to revive our natural, inborn Krishna consciousness. So Srila Prabhupada said, if you love Krishna. Another time when he was asked this, he said, if you chant Hare Krishna, and you're already doing that, so go on doing it. Go on chanting Hare Krishna. I will elaborate on what pleases me, what do I want of my disciples, what will make me happy. Very simply I can say if they're dedicated to Srila Prabhupada's mission, because as a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, I see that what he wanted of his disciples in practical terms, not that being to love Krishna or to chant Hare Krishna is impractical, but he gave many directions as to his mission, serving his mission. His mission is Lord Chaitanya's mission, which is to spread Krishna consciousness to every town and village in the world. So spreading Krishna consciousness, and not just spreading but bringing devotees up. So my position as a disciple of Srila Prabhupada means a servant of his mission, and as a servant in his mission, I like to see that my disciples also are dedicated to his mission, which means to understand what his mission is and to act in that. And there are many services to be performed within that. Book distribution, Srila Prabhupada himself personally stressed that very much. He also stressed very much to read the books. He didn't want that his disciples only distributed them. He wanted them to personally understand very well, and not just to read and memorize, as someone may do for an exam. Some exam you have to memorize, and then you regurgitate it and write it down, and then you pass the exam. But Srila Prabhupada wanted us to understand this. What are the teachings? The Siddhanta. Siddhanta balya chitte nakaraha alosh eha hoite Krishna lage sudira manosh. One should not be lazy in understanding the conclusion of Shastra, for by applying one's mind in this way to try to understand, then one's mind becomes firmly attached to Krishna. So that is a major reason for having gurus, being gurus. Why don't we just read Prabhupada's books and all become Ritvigvadis? But the gurus, they are supposed to understand very well what are the teachings of Shastra as received in disciplic succession, specifically through Srila Prabhupada, and to enlighten their disciples, to help their disciples properly understand all these points, and how to apply that in our personal life. Krishna consciousness, the teachings are quite simple. It's not a very complex philosophy like that of, for instance, the Mayavadis. It's complex because it's convoluted or speculative, and it's much easier to understand and to explain to others 1 + 1 = 2 than to try to understand that 1 + 1 = 3. So Krishna consciousness, the understanding is comparable to 1 + 1 = 2. straightforward and easy to understand because it's a fact. And anything else is 1 + 1 = 3, or people may argue 1 + 1 = 3. No, 1 + 1 = 2.734. And so they may be arguing, all different so-called philosophers, with their speculative philosophies, but it's meaningless. They have to understand 1 + 1 = 2. Or in the modern New Age Mayavadi concept, they may not say, no, it can't be 2, because 2 is greater than 1. And you can't have anything more than anything else. You can't have anything bigger or better than anything else. So 1 + 1 = 1, 2,000 multiplied by 50,000 = 1, because you can't have any number bigger than anything else, because everything should all be the same. This is their idea. Or if any number is less, then you make it more. So this is the New Age approach. But the fact is that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we're all His servants. We're suffering in this material world because of forgetfulness of Him. So we have to remember Him. How do we remember Him? Shravana Kirtana, the primary processes. So the Guru is meant to help in that. So I'm very pleased if you all take that very seriously, hearing and chanting about Krishna, dedicating yourself to Srila Prabhupada's mission, reading the books. Srila Prabhupada very much wanted that his disciples read these books and sincerely endeavor in devotional service to overcome material desires. It's not an easy thing. It's much easier to talk about it, but we have to at least talk about it. If we don't talk about it, then we won't have any idea that we should actually do it. There are many speakers on Bhagavatam, and they talk sweetly about the sweet pastimes of Krishna, which is very nice, to speak sweetly about the sweet pastimes of Krishna. But unless we understand also the need to Bishoy Charya Kobe Shuddha Hobe Man, Tobe Hama Herabo Sri Vrindavan, unless we understand the need to overcome that first of all, that there are material desires in our hearts. We may not even if we're listening to Krishna's pastimes, we may think, oh, how wonderful, how nice, I'm enjoying it, I'm a devotee. And not even recognize the material attachments within our hearts. So that should be pointed out, just like in shooting range, or you look through the what do you call that? The lens of the gun. You focus, and then first of all you have to see it and understand it's there, where it is, what it is. Then you shoot and then destroy it. But if we don't even recognize it's there, then for all our hearing about Krishna, unless there's an endeavor to overcome the material desires in our heart, then we won't make proper advancement. Fortunately, the process of Bhakti Yoga, Sadhana Bhakti, helps us to, without extraneous endeavor, helps us to become, to rise above those material desires. And engagement in the mission of Srila Prabhupada, that is a meditation, how our life can be dedicated for not only practicing Krishna consciousness ourselves, but helping others to come up. So if we have this dedication for the mission, then that in itself is perfection. Even though we may have material desires, but it's compared to a green mango is also a mango. It just has, if it remains in the process, then it becomes ripe in due course of time. So we're on the way. Of course, it is possible to be engaged in the mission, but with ulterior motives. This is very dangerous. This requires to be pointed out. There's another reason why, even reading the book, we can read La Puja Pratishta Jato Upashakagon. We can read Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's warning, Nishidacha Kutinati Jibe Hingjan Lab Puja Pratishta Jato Upashakagon. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu warns the practicing devotees that they may have within the heart desires for, well, first of all, they may not be proper, they may be practicing chanting Hare Krishna, but also performing activities which are detrimental to devotional service, which are forbidden in scripture. Or they may, so that's called nishedacha. Then kutinati means duplicity. One shows oneself outside to be a great devotee, but inside has some other motive. Jibe hingshan, to be envious of other living beings. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur brings a revolutionary understanding to this, that he says that to obstruct the preaching of Krishna consciousness, that is the worst kind of envy of other living beings, or bad feeling toward others, spitefulness, to stop the preaching, to obstruct the preaching. So this kutinati, duplicity, that can be within the heart, desires for monetary gain through devotional service. One may see that, well, if I preach, if I tell some stories from Shastra, people like it, they'll give me donations, I can support my family, it's all bona fide. Well, it is bona fide that a preacher of Krishna consciousness, say a brahmana, householder, can be maintained by donations from the public. But his whole attitude is that he simply accepts what is required. Therefore he has to give in charity also. He only keeps the minimum amount that is needed. But if he thinks that, well, let me speak very nicely, and people will be pleased, and they'll give me nice donations, and I better not point out all the things they're doing which are obstructing their devotional advancement, otherwise they won't want to give me money. So one's whole devotional service becomes compromised and becomes actually not devotional service at all, if one is thinking that I will get some monetary gain from it. It's very different from the attitude of a pure devotee who ananyas chintayanto mang ye janaf paryupasati teishang nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham, who with full faith in Krishna, well, I'll just serve Krishna, and Krishna will maintain. Krishna says, and if he maintains me like Sudama, where my bones are sticking out of my body due to poverty, all right, I'll accept that. That's Krishna's mercy on me. He doesn't demand that Krishna, I'm serving you, and so you have so many devotees like Maharaj Ambarish and Maharaj Prithu, they were ruling over the world, so why don't you do that to me? He has no demands. But if one is expecting that I will get some monetary gain, then it's not actually devotional service at all. Or then one will get some position and be recognized, or puja will be respected or worshipped. If one has any such desires, then he cannot actually perform devotional service, even if he seems to be performing devotional service very well. So again, the gurus are required to point these things out, because they are pitfalls that it's very easy to fall into for a practicing devotee. It's Maya is just ready to capture us. So it's very easy to go on practicing devotional service with some mixed intentions. But one cannot help others very substantially even if one is successful in preaching, in the sense of bringing many people to devotional service by spiritual genetics, if there's such. Well, anyway, you get the idea. Then those who come in association of a devotee who has mixed motives, they'll also have mixed motives. And so the actual mission of pure devotional service will not be served. So Srila Prabhupada, when he said, what pleases you? Srila Prabhupada said, if you love Krishna. So I can say that also. And I can elaborate upon that it's not something cheap, it's not a show, it's manifest, love of Krishna is manifest as a dedication to serving Krishna without any personal motive.